Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Hilaal Live. Thanks for joining us on channel 347 or on our live stream www.hilaal.tv. It's coming up to elections time next year, 2024, and we've already had one weekend of voter registration, and I believe there's one or two more weekends coming up, inshallah, as well. And I thought, let's invite a couple of political parties in studio, put them under the spotlight, and find out a bit more about what makes them very special and what do they stand for. So this week it's the turn of formerly known as the Cape Coloured Congress, now known as the National Coloured Congress, and in studio, Fadiel Adams. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam to you. And
Jazakallah for coming into studio. I really appreciate it. I know it's a very busy time of the year for you guys. And I do know that, we just had one weekend of voter registration as well. Any feedback from that in terms of the numbers?
We're very happy with the amount of people that we've registered. Our count shows about 14,500 down in the Cape Flats alone. We are ecstatic. We are ready.
I'm actually excited because, the last turnout for when people had to vote, elections was just dismal, to say the least. And we'd like it to be a lot more. So hence the reason I thought, let's invite political parties in once a week and find out about what makes them very special as well. So the name's changed from the Cape Coloured Congress. It's now known as, your party is now known as the National Coloured Congress. What made that happen?
This party was conceived for the Cape Metro and possibly the Western Cape.
Right.
But when our message started resonating in KZN and in Gauteng and in PE and everywhere else, we actually didn't have an option. We had to open the doors.
Right.
The party is now open for everyone nationally.
Okay.
We didn't understand at the time that a coloured struggle in Bonteheuwel and a coloured struggle in Wentworth and a coloured struggle in Matsikama is the same struggle.
Right.
It's the same story. It's unemployment, lack of housing opportunities, and premature death.
So when you say the coloured struggle, we come from a previous, obviously, regime where we were classified in different races, black, white, coloured, Indian, and, you've primarily, the party is called, the National Coloured Congress as well. Does that mean that you advocate for only people classified as coloured in our country? And I'm sure you've been asked this question many times, but for our viewers who've never heard it before, how do you respond to that?
I took the mayor of the city of Cape Town to task last week for going to court again, appealing to the court to absolve him from his responsibility to secure a black child's housing right. I took him to task.
Okay.
We don't advocate for colours only.
Okay.
But we are not ashamed to tell everybody who we stand for.
Right.
The Freedom Front Plus has a policy. They advocate for white people, even though they don't say it. So does the Democratic Alliance. The EFF and the ANC are telling us exactly what they care about. I don't understand why in South Africa it's an issue when coloured people demand the same.
Right. So when you identified the struggle in the various provinces, obviously you've got more of a presence here in Cape Town compared to Natal and Gauteng, for that matter as well. What is your plan to increase those numbers in the rest of the country?
We will continue working. That's what we do. We are not a party of marketing.
Okay.
We are not a party of food parcels. We are not a party that spins anything.
Right.
All we do is address issues.
Okay.
The activists that are coming on board now will be required, no, it will be demanded of them to do the same thing. We are all about solving problems at the grassroots level.
Okay.
We have nothing else to offer.
So the challenges we faced in the Western Cape, and when you say they're very similar to the rest of the countries as well, what are those challenges right now?
Okay. So in South Africa, a coloured male has a life expectancy of 42. It's the lowest in the country. So in the coloured areas.
And why is that?
Gangsterism, drugs, the normal thing. It's almost a subculture. It's become a subculture. And the problem with that is that it's state sanctioned. The state allows this thing to perpetuate, to grow, to dominate us.
Okay. So your party's identified that, and I'm sure various other NPO social circles have identified that as well. What is your party doing to change that cycle?
We advocate education. Okay. We go into gang-infested areas. When there's a gang war, we're the ones putting our bodies on the line saying, whoa, guys, stop the shooting. They're not going to give us the guns. But if we can get one day's peace, it's one day's peace that an area never had. In addition to that, this is the only party that is willing to risk everything for the life of the coloured child. When I said to you that the coloured male has the lowest life expectancy in the country, that should be a shock to everyone.
Right, exactly.
It's not. When I say to you that 86% of all people incarcerated in this country are coloured males, that should prompt a question from government. It doesn't. This is the state of our society. No one stands up for us. No one's ever stood up for us until we came along. Now it's election time. Everyone's going to be advocating for the colored people now. Everybody's going to jump on the whatever issue they need to.
Okay. Take us through the last couple of years. You've changed from a previous organization that you were very vocal for, and then, went to Cape Coloured Congress, and now it's called the National Coloured Congress as well. What's been the last couple of years for you? I know you've been vocal on various issues, but right now, as we look at South Africa, we are riddled with so many challenges. What is your party doing to try and change some of those challenges?
Our party is active in all spheres, whether it's education, whether it's housing.
Okay, let's take education. You mentioned as well, perpetuating from the culture that a coloured male has, or coloured families have engrossed themselves over the last couple of years, or been in the last couple of years as well. How is your party changing that cycle?
So just before COVID, when we had an issue with getting colored kids into areas with colored kids into schools within colored areas, that's a big issue right now.
It is, yes.
Right. So we were planning to get retired teachers out. Okay. Even if we had to teach our children on the school fields, that's what we prepared to do. Okay. As we stand here, there's tens of thousands of young colored boys and girls that are hungry to learn, denied a place to go to school. That's an injustice.
I agree.
This is a genocide of the colored people. And that is why we exist, for no other reason. If this state treats my children fairly, our children fairly, you'll never hear from Fadiel Adams. He'll happily take his toolbox and continue construction work. That's where his heart is. Right. I don't have a need or desire to sit on TV. I don't want to be in the newspapers.
But you've put yourself in this position primarily because of the challenges that we've been facing primarily in the Western Cape. How far does your reach stretch? Cape Town, and how far out?
We're about to launch NCC Gauteng.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Our people are on their way to the Eastern Cape very soon.
Okay.
In Wentworth, Durban, we contested one ward without a cent. We lost the ward by 26 votes to the Democratic Alliance.
No.
Yes.
Wow. That's a good footprint for somebody that's just launched in that area.
For a party with nothing, with no means.
But you've got Newlands East, you've got various other coloured allocated areas,
I didn't come here to talk about any other party, except this one. But let me put it into perspective for you. In their first election, local election, government election, the forerunner to the Democratic Alliance, the DA, achieved 7 seats with millions. We've done it with 60,000 rand.
Wow, that's amazing.
Our scope for growth, well, only we can determine that.
Talk to me about your structure in terms of the party. Who are the relevant people responsible for making decisions?
It's a grounds up movement.
Okay.
We take our directive from the bottom. Okay. We don't always get it right, but the relevant people would be, of course, myself, our SG, Sakina Frenchman, our provincial chair, Mr. Dwayne Jacobs, our provincial convener, Mr. Desmond Seiss, our white provincial secretary, Mr. Paul Bester, and there's people like Fazludin Abrams and others, but I think we've got the blend right. Okay. I would dearly like to see more women in leadership.
Brilliant.
Unfortunately, we can't just grab women for the sake of grabbing women. It's got to be the right person. We are playing here with people's lives.
Education is a very important topic, and I would imagine that you're advocating to put certain things in place as well. But let's come back to gangsterism. We have been hit hard in the Western Cape, and the ripple effect that it's had, it's not just affected coloured allocated areas, as the previous government, allocated in our province, but the ripple effect that it's carried on to various other suburbs in the Western Cape as well. How is the National Coloured Congress combating that?
We had a very effective plan. Okay. Because coloureds are underemployed in the Western Cape in particular. Underemployed. We started closing down businesses that don't employ enough coloured people. And it was working, because our view is that you give the child a job before the gang gives him a job.
Okay.
And that way crime will slowly decline. It's not going to go away, it's going to decline.
Right.
Do you know that the Democratic Alliance took us to court to stop us from closing businesses that don't employ coloured people?
Is that constitutionally apt, or is that constitutionally accepted, the plan you had?
Is it constitutional to keep my community hungry? There's a Human Rights Commission ruling that says that since the dawn of skewed BEE and affirmative action, the coloured community has gotten 40% poorer. There is a Constitutional Court ruling, the Correctional Services 6, that says that you cannot impose national demographics in the Western Cape because it will have an adverse effect on the coloured people. They do it anyway. So my question to you is in lieu of the fact that all spheres of government they've trampled on a Constitutional Court ruling, how does my action to force my people into work become a constitutional issue?
What was the ruling for that particular judgment that the DA took you guys?
The judge, we didn't contest it because we didn't have money to go to court. It was going to cost 150,000 rand. This is a party without money. So when we were served, we sent an attorney to court because they were demanding costs as well, costs of probably 100,000 rand. And the attorney managed to talk the judge out of awarding the costs. That we were okay with that. But what I'm saying to you is that when we demand fairness, when we demand that the rule of law be respected, the same government will oppose us in court.
Has there been a change with some businesses employing more coloured people?
I invite you to the Cape Flats. Come and see. Coloured children are working. Businesses are still approaching us to say, give us 20 CVs, give us 10 CVs. We need some people over here. We've broken that narrative that coloureds don't want to work. That narrative's out there. Coloured people don't want to work. We want to work. Our children need to work.
Absolutely. Look, especially after COVID, where so many people were affected, all of us was affected by COVID, and so many people have lost their jobs. Businesses are still trying to recover as well. However, when you go in and I often, if I go in and they ask me like, what's your race? I say human race. I refuse to put down what I've been previously classified for, or as well. And I think that needs to change in our country.
I actually don't have an issue with it anymore. I used to. Because remember,
I have a terrible issue.
I caught the tail end of apartheid. I threw the last of the rocks. So I was black. When my brother, my comrade in arms, my government, my ANC turned around and told, no, the struggle is done. You are now coloured. The name of this party is me sticking the proverbial middle finger to the ANC and saying, you know what, we'll own this. That person of uncertain origin, that is me. That's okay. It doesn't make me any less. I've got a friend who complains that the block for him is called other. Imagine that, like a dog, other. Do we do away with racial classification? Please, do it today.
Absolutely.
But they're not gonna.
Yeah, very interesting. And I think we're going to continue this conversation after the ad break. You are watching Hilaal Live, where we're chatting to Fadiel Adams from the National Coloured Congress, who's given us his take about what his party tends to do, has been doing, and will continue be doing as well. You are still watching Hilaal Live. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Hilaal Live. Thanks for watching us on channel 347 and on the live stream www.hilaal.tv. I do apologize for the extended break, but we're back chatting to from the National Coloured Congress, Brother Fadiel Adams. Fadiel, jazakallah so much for coming into studio, chatting to us, making yourself available. I know that's one thing about you. You always make yourself available for any interviews. You discussed quite a few points before the break with regards to your party. It's coming up to election year next year. What are some of the plans that you and your party plan to put in place that's going to directly affect our communities?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to continue working. We're going to continue educating our people, and we are going to continue solving the problems at a grassroots level. That's our whole campaign. Right. We're not going to have 10,000 posters. We're not going to have 100,000 food parcels. Our weapon is the truth. Our campaign will be all about the coloured cause, the coloured need, the coloured right. There's no other campaign.
I want to stop you very quickly. We've opened the WhatsApp line for our viewers as well. If you'd like to WhatsApp your comments, queries, questions to Fadiel on the WhatsApp line, 079 085 2511. 079 085 2511. WhatsApps only. Unfortunately, we're not accepting any phone calls. So I'll get the WhatsApp and I'll filter that and I will send it to Fadiel. If I could ask you to kindly type in full words, not those mixed languages that we used to call it, because I'm going to miss your message. I'd like to respect you and your message and display that to Fadiel as well. I do apologize for interjecting, Fadiel, but the plans for the elections, it's a couple of months away. Well, who would have thought? We're finally here. What more can you guys do for our communities?
We are going to, see to it that every party that releases a manifesto before this election is going to be aware of the fact that the NCC will hold them to it.
Okay.
What happens at every election is every party promises the world.
Correct.
When you look at the next election, the same manifesto was flying around.
Mm.
But nothing has changed for the people on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
These people are now aware of the fact that there's a party full of pit bulls.
Mm.
Go and ask the Democratic Alliance in the city of Cape Town how 7 people are holding them accountable. I want to say this to you and to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
In 17 years of governance, the Democratic Alliance has never been convicted of stealing a cent.
Mm.
We came into council
Why
1 year
is that?
later. We believe that because they're very good at cooking the books.
Okay.
We came into council, and in our first 6 months, 8 arrests were effected. The city of Cape Town now will soon stand accused of stealing 500 million from the colored people.
That's a lot of money.
500 million, one tender, one demographic.
No, that's a lot of money. And that's a big accusation.
The issue is before the court, so it's not an accusation.
Right. So you've got concrete evidence that has happened.
There's a prima facie case of 500 million, 400 million disappearing. Money that was to be used for a critical project, the collapsing staircases on the Cape Flats.
Right.
That money's disappeared.
Now, that's the one that's just been in the papers recently. They allocated 500 million, was that, or 30 million?
30 million,
30 million,
less than 10% of what was stolen. And they expect us to be happy. Now, the question that I have to ask is, why would a municipal manager, in our case, the city manager, Lungelo Mabandazeo, why would he lie to the media about releasing that report 3 years ago? Then why does the mayor insist on backing this man up? And why does the Speaker of Council refuse to give us access to public information with regards to that tender? That's how effective we are. We are small in number. But if you look at our impact, I challenge you to bring all the political parties that have been inside of this council for 27 years and ask them to show you what they've done. Ask them if they can match our achievement over the last 12 months. When you look at the intake within the city of Cape Town, you'll see that colored people are now being given opportunities. They were denied this for 17 years of DA rule. They know the pit bulls are here, and we don't bark, we bite.
Very interesting concept, and one WhatsApp that's just come through, it says 8 midi blow and 10 midi brain. That's basically what you're advocating for as well.
I concur.
Right? Okay. One of the things I'm very, very worried about is our economic struggle, not just in the Western Cape, but throughout South Africa. We've been digging ourselves into a very big hole with regards to various investments that we've made that we haven't taken into consideration, and also some of the investments that have been made to suit certain communities in our country. What's your response to that?
I'm not even going to blame government, I'm going to blame the voters. When you give a party of thieves economic power, when you give them access to the state treasury and they start stealing, we knew they were thieves. We knew they were going to steal. But we've reinvested our votes and our lives with these people for the last 27 years. At a provincial level, the Democratic Alliance is as rotten and as corrupt as the ANC. I see them as two sides of the same coin. I urge people, if our rand is in decline, let's put it on an upswing. Let's change our votes.
I think that's a very valid point. And with recent, with what has happened in the Middle East as well, the rest of the Western Cape and, well, the rest of South Africa has been very vocal. I saw you at the rally a couple of weeks ago on the truck, also voicing your opinion as well. Where does the NCC stand on the Middle East conflict?
Do you want my honest opinion?
Yes, sir.
Mine or the NCC's, because mine is a bit more radical.
Okay, let's give yours first, and then we'll take the parties.
So if I was born in Palestine, and my grandmother's house has just been bulldozed, and I have now to go live in some refugee camp, you give me an AK-47, and I'll show you what I'll do. And I believe that is the right of every man.
You've been driven towards.
I believe that is the right of every man.
Okay.
The NCC believes that every life matters.
Okay.
The NCC rejects the notion of a two-state solution.
Okay.
One person, one vote on a common voter's roll.
Okay.
We believe that the Jews and the Palestinians and the Christians can, will, and must live in harmony. We reject the notion of an apartheid state.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say Jews, obviously Jewish people living in Palestine, but obviously the conflict that is currently happening is between the Zionists that are living in Israel.
Not every person living in Israel is a Zionist.
Gotcha.
Hence our call for one single state with one parliament where everybody's rights
Are you
is
saying
respected.
combined Palestine and Israel?
Like it used to be,
Okay.
before the land grabs.
That's a bit of a far cry in terms of that happening.
Ask South Africa what a negotiated settlement brings. It brings disparity.
Yeah.
It brings inequity. We should never have negotiated peace. We should have fought for it, and we would have all been better today. What happened here is that we have the right to vote and nothing else. South Africans cannot eat their votes.
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
I reject the notion.
Yeah. Your party was very visible during COVID, and I saw that you went out helping various communities as well, not just so-called colored communities as well. Have those communities recovered from what COVID has done? And are you still assisting where necessary? I know you mentioned that you're not just about food parcels. However, there are communities that are literally struggling to put bread on the table.
I doubt that those communities will ever recover. COVID has devastated business and families. During COVID, a small handful of volunteers fed over 500,000 cooked meals.
Amazing. That's phenomenal.
And we did not discriminate. We gave to whoever needed. And that's what we're about. That's the ethos of this party. And people call me a colored nationalist. And you know what? I'll be a colored whatever you want me to. I've been called worse things than that. But the fact of the matter is that at my core, I'm a humanitarian.
Gotcha.
The fact that I see race is the fact that this government has forced me to.
Yeah. When it comes to salaries in and around South Africa, there's such a gap between CEO level, management level, supervisor level, and even the man on the ground level as well, our normal blue-collar worker. What are your thoughts on the salaries that politicians get? Some politicians.
You can actually check in the council minutes. When it came to the 4.8% increase offered to councillors in the city of Cape Town, the NCC was the first party to vote against it. The EFF joined us later. Everybody voted in favour of it. Our stance was a very simple one. Our communities have been decimated by COVID. Take this R1.5 million a month that you're going to spend on us, who I feel are already overpaid, and give it to our poor people. Give us tax relief. Give us water relief. It was pushed through. We didn't have a say. Our party then took a stance, the 4,800 Rand extra that we were going to get paid, we would invest it either in feeding schemes or community projects.
Commendable. I think that is. A couple of minutes left. What plans can we look forward to? What can we look forward to from your political party, National Coloured Congress, over the next couple of months?
So over the next couple of months, it will be all about conscientizing. Bringing our people forward, letting them know that coloured lives do matter, that our normal is not normal, that I can't be stepping over bodies on my way to work or school, that our children cannot be locked out of school by the same government that we vote for. That is our full activity for the next 6 months. Our business is the business of the coloured child. Our mandate is a very clear one. It is given to us by our voters. Go and fight for our children. They said, Fadiel, go and fight for our children. Thus far, I think we've done the best we can. I can tell you that out of all the parties that claim coloured interests, I dare all of them. Bring your body of work to this table. Match it against ours and walk away in shame. Because if there's one party that wakes up in the morning to fight for our people, and when I say our people, let me be blunt, it's the coloured child. Because I'm not anybody else's people in this country. That has been made clear to me by the Democratic Alliance. It has been made clear to me by the the ANC. Our people are the coloured people. Those are the people that we'll fight for and we will die for.
Fadiel, it's been very, very interesting conversation. Thank you so much for coming into studio, sharing your views and the views of the National Coloured Congress as well. All the very best with the upcoming elections. We look forward to catching up with you very soon, inshallah.
Small party like ours needs all the airtime it can get. Shukran to you guys.
My absolute pleasure, Afwan. So there we go. That's our political spotlight. The NCC in the spotlight this Thursday. We will try and bring you a different political party every Thursday or every week, inshallah. That's all that we have for you from our Cape Town studios. Hilaal Barnes and myself, Luqman Shadrack, wishing you a lovely evening. Assalamu alaikum.